All right, man, peace. You know, brothers, Kevin Durant, the superstar forward for the Golden State Warriors, or at least currently for the Golden State Warriors, has developed what some may deem to be a rather well-deserved reputation as being quote-unquote sensitive. I'm on record as stating that if he's sensitive, Kevin Durant is his own person and he has to be him. If he feels like he needs to express himself because that provides a certain level of catharsis or what have you, then let him do him. The only issue that I've ever had was when he made all those fake-ass accounts. That made him look like a damn fool. Well, of course, in the aftermath of his blow-up with Draymond Green, many of the fans all across the NBA have decided that they're going to ratchet up their trash talk another notch. And I do believe that Adam Silver, if he's truly as quote-unquote sensitive as he likes to allege himself to be, he should take into account the amount of verbal abuse that many of these players are forced to endure from the fans. And even though I don't particularly think that there's anything wrong with good-natured ribbing or trash talk or what have you, when you have people in the crowd getting drunk, calling certain players names, you have to expect a certain level of blowback because they are human beings. Now, of course, fans will claim these players are making 7-8 figures a year. They should be big enough to take it. At the end of the day, if you're Adam Silver, you have to think on a higher level than the fans or the players are going to think. You do have to utilize a certain amount of psychological understanding in regards to the effect that it could have on your players, because once again, we're going into the woke era. In the woke era, many of these performers are going to be willing to break that fourth wall and attack the fans. Well, anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Kevin Durant throwing F-bombs like it is his job at a fan in Saturday's.
And let me say this very quickly. This is nothing new. Because this Kevin Durant is going to be classified as another eruption of quote-unquote sensitivity. I remember as a kid 25, 26 years ago, it would be very common for Charles Barkley to curse out fans. With no care in the world, it was going to be what it was going to be. Charles Barkley would curse you out. He'd curse your woman out. He'd curse your kids out. If your kids was there, he'd curse them out too. And dare you to do something.
Today's loss to the Mavs, and there's video evidence, as you just saw. So the league hit KD with a $25,000 fine for cursing at the fans. Stephen A., fine enough for KD?
Fine is enough. It's hard to imagine that.
If I was Adam Silver, I probably would have fined Kevin Durant as well. It would have been far lower than $25,000. But I also would have found out who that fan was, and I would have banned him for life. And I'm dead serious about that. Certain cats may say, why would you be that severe on the fans? I think that the fans have a responsibility just like the players do. I would expect my players not to go back and forth with fans, especially if they were initiating trash talk with the fans. Don't initiate trash talk with fans. But if a fan is saying something to you and you say something back with them, if it escalates to the point where it's exceedingly toxic, then we have to investigate exactly what happened. And if the fan initiated it, he gets banned from NBA arenas for life. Problem solved. And we get the word out on that. Because no, just because you spend a bunch of money for a ticket does not mean that you have the right to verbally harangue our stars. Certainly not to call them outside of their names in too disrespectful a degree or talk about personal issues, family, etc. So yes, once we get to the bottom of it, you get banned for life. If the player is the one who initiated it, then of course the fine is going to be higher.
Somebody could have done. First of all, he was wrong to react that way. Let's be clear about that. You don't go over to a fan and react like that. So I'm not trying to defend KD on that.
It depends on what the fan stated. If I were the one advising KD, I would try to, once again, get to the bottom of exactly what the fan said. But I would tell him, look, brother, you're going to have to stay out of that if you can. I get it. If the person's statement was that acerbic, you are a human being. You have to express yourself. But you also have to be willing to deal with the repercussions of your actions.
That point. But I've been at a lot of games when they say some vicious stuff. And I understand people here heard him calling KD soft or whatever. I don't think that alone would warrant KD saying that. It must have been something far more abrasive. But nevertheless, you can't react like that. You just can't. So I think a fine sufficed. He didn't put his hands on the man or anything. The man was courtside. It's not like he walked up into the stands or anything like that.
I tell you, boy, KD got the body of a flat-chested Victoria's Secret model.
But in the end, what this comes down to is I think that I'm glad that he was punished, because I think he needs to be reminded of the fact that you are KD. You're one of the greatest players in the world. You're a role model, what have you. You never know. Obviously, as you can see, people can hear those kind of things. But more importantly than that, he hates when folks call him sensitive. He hates when folks call him sensitive because
he's sensitive.
Yeah, exactly. But where I will come to his defense is in this regard, Max.
Right, but, and I've stated this in the past in some of these videos. The media has gone out of their way to try to box these athletes in regards to how they respond to external stimuli. So basically what the media tells you is that if you respond to what people do, it's because you're sensitive. If you don't respond to what people do or say, it's because you're soft. Remember, Kevin Durant allowed himself to be called the B word by Draymond Green. He didn't fight back, so that made him soft. Now that he responded back to a fan, it's because he's sensitive. So the media has allowed themselves, or players have allowed the media to create this paradigm where the media and the fans and the external viewers can categorize them based on their conduct, and in no way is any way that they choose to express themselves acceptable to the media at large. And they should do something about that. They should push back against that, because you're not going to continually pick and poke at someone and have them do nothing. And whatever they do, you're going to cast them either as soft or sensitive.
He would make the argument that I've always been me. I've always been this way. Y'all act like I changed.
Right.
Like there's some epiphany that took place and suddenly I'm ultra sensitive. He said, no, I have always been this way. It's just that as my relevance, as my star has shined and my relevance has become more conspicuous, now it's a little bit different.
You used to treat me different, so you didn't see this side of me.
He's like, and that's where he gives me cause to pause, because he's quick to look anybody in the face and say, why you acting like you didn't know? And I'm like, I've changed because I haven't. That's his position.
Let me tell you why the fine is, you have to fine him first. Let me start there. I don't really think he did anything wrong, but you have to fine him because the cameras and the mics caught him saying that.
And that's the main problem. Right now we're living in a surveillance society, so you have to be very, very careful how you choose to express yourself. And if you don't care, it is what it is.
To a fan. And the NBA is family entertainment. Once upon a time in this country, every little kid wanted to grow up to play Major League Baseball. That was the thing to do if you could grow up to be the next, Mickey Mantle or Willie Mays, decades and decades ago. That was the thing. Now, it's barely an exaggeration to say every little kid in the country, maybe in the world, wants to grow up and play in the NBA, right? Like that.
Well, the NBA has probably become the second leading global sport to soccer. So yes, there are children all across the world who want to grow up to become NBA players. The issue with that is that the NBA, out of all the sports leagues, is probably the most genetically prohibitive of any professional sports league. You basically have to be a genetic freak to make it into the NBA for the most part. 99.6 or 0.7% of NBA players finish in the upper 1/100th of genetic freaks on the planet Earth. Basically, you have to be 6'3" and up, have about a 35-inch vertical leap and up, have incredible hand-eye coordination, fast twitch muscle, just to last in the NBA. Of course, you have your J.J. Bareas, you have your T.J. McConnells, or whatever his name is. But J.J. Barea, T.J. McConnell, will go out to any blacktop all across America and bust 99% of those dudes' asses. People just don't realize that.
That's the thing. You start to realize realistically these guys are too tall, too fast, too good.
Ding.
But if the dream could come true, because unlike the NFL, you're not taking shots. Basketball is the most fun to play, the most action-packed, displays the most athletic ability. You get.
Another reason why basketball is so popular globally is because, like soccer, it's very economical. All you need are 2 hoops and a ball. Sometimes all you need is 1 hoop. When you're talking about sports like hockey and baseball, you need equipment. Football, you definitely need equipment, American football. But when it comes to soccer and basketball, all you need is a ball and 2 goals or 1 goal.
You get to know the characters more intimately. They're not wearing masks, helmets. You're right up, you can see them. There aren't that many people on the court at one time. And anyone can play anywhere by themselves. So it's why it's exporting so well around the world. Every little kid wants to play in the NBA one day. Family entertainment. If you're caught dropping F-bombs on TV, you're going to get a fine, period. But let me say this. KD messed up because he's showing them, he's giving them what they want. He gave them reaction. If they're just calling them
well, I think that KD has already established that he's going to be him. He's going to do him. He's going to express himself. He does not care what people think anymore. He's going through a period of his life where he's liberating himself from the shackles of public acceptance. And people have to be respectful of that. That's why I made the point in regards to Adam Silver that if he's as sensitive to everybody as he tries to claim that he is, he should be doing his due diligence in regards to investigating the fan, or the fans per se, as he will Kevin Durant. Because yes, the fan is a paying customer, but the fan is easier to replace than Kevin Durant is. I promise you that. There's somebody on a waiting list to pay for that seat. There are no Kevin Durants on that waiting list. Kevin Durant is 1 in 8 billion.
Cupcake. And he comes back with an F-bomb. Come on, KD. You can say something like cupcake back to them. But even giving them...
That's if the fan actually just said cupcake.
That, KD? Well, the refs wouldn't do anything about it. Brother, you're playing in professional sports. You're going to get heckled by fans, even if they're ruthless. Once you give into it, now they know they got you. Now you're going to hear it worse everywhere you go. It was just
It matters as long as it affects his play. If it does not affect his play, then, I mean, once again, it is what it is. Players have gone back and forth with fans for many, many years. Michael Jordan, Patrick Ewing, Shaq, Kobe, they all used to go back and forth with the fans. Now, Charles Barkley would take it to another level because, once again, Charles didn't give a shit. He cursed you out. He cursed your woman out. He cursed your kids out. Charles didn't give two shits. And I think that KD is trying to get to the level where he doesn't give two shits, but he cares too much. Well, I shouldn't say he cares too much. He just cares because he has to go by his barometer, not mine.
A tactical error by KD.
Maybe it's just a low moment for him.
It was a tactical error by him, no
Real
doubt
quick,
about it.
if they were cursing at him,
They were.
if they were actually cursing at him, then they should have been removed.
That happens all the time, though. And sometimes it's like, listen, I'm at the Rams game the other night, and, fans are cursing at me, and security was getting ready to throw one guy out because he came too far. And I was like this, chill out. And when I said chill out, and I told security, leave him alone, let him stay, what have you, the guy was like, all right, thank you. Because you're excited, you're at a game.
They think they're the W.
Yeah, excited. He's at the game. He's also drunk, most likely. He had that courage juice in him. And a lot of people get that courage juice in them, and they start saying things that normally they would not say had they been sober. Sometimes you think you're doing somebody a favor, and you probably should have let him get kicked out the game so that he could learn for future reference to not imbibe so much or to not allow himself to get carried away. Because people like that, who you allow to continue on in their behavior, they run up on the wrong person, say the wrong thing, and they end up showing up on page 2 of the newspaper as opposed to the sports section. They're in the early part of the paper as being a fan that got killed at a sporting match.
WWE.
So you're heckling somebody, but if you tell them to pump the brakes, it's okay. In the case of KD, let's understand something here. He's one of the greatest players in the world. Does he come across as a bit sensitive at times? Absolutely. But here's the thing that I think.
Well, so do you.
All of these guys, including John Wall, for example, need to remember. What would we have done if it were LeBron James? And he's the greatest in the world. So in fairness to LeBron James, if we're going to do that to him, nobody should be safe from being absolved from something like that. Doesn't matter who it is.
Okay, so now we've covered the Kevin Durant altercation with the fan in Dallas. Now we're going to move forward to Patrick Beverley. And let me say this. Eventually something is going to happen between a player and a fan that is going to force the NBA and many of these stadiums to change their protocol in regards to what they're going to allow fans to say to players. So let's watch what happens in this almost altercation between Patrick Beverley and the fan in Dallas.
Welcome back to TMZ Sports. Evan here with Van Lathan.
What up?
Michael J. Babcock.
What's up?
Another incident involving an NBA star and a Dallas Mavericks fan who was heckling players during the game. Now, a couple of weeks ago, you saw the video when some guy was jawing at Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant went over to him and told him to shut the bleep up and watch the bleeping game. It was a whole thing. He got fined $25,000 for that. Dude was sitting courtside right on the hardwood, right under the basket. He got to Kevin Durant.
Yeah, Kevin Durant went over there, got in the guy's face. You could tell it was really bothering KD.
Yeah. So now another.
This was right in the middle of that whole situation between KD and Draymond Green. So I'm sure that Kevin Durant was not trying to hear any bullshit.
Another moment development happened. Over the weekend, the Clippers were in town playing the Dallas Mavericks, and a guy in the stands was jawing at Patrick Beverley, saying things about Patrick Beverley's mother. So Patrick Beverley decided to take the basketball and throw it at him. Watch this.
And there you go, Don.
Yeah, eventually one of these players is going to run up into the stands. It's going to be like another Malice in the Palace.
And Don did not drop his clapper. No. Really great work there.
I thought he was going to put a shot up personally. Oh, yeah.
It wasn't like he fired it at him full speed, but he threw the ball at him and let him know he was upset. Now, after the game, Patrick Beverley...
You know, even though this video is about how these players interact with the fans and how far too much leeway is given to the fans, it's just interesting that Patrick Beverley happens to be the focus of this fan's ire, because Patrick Beverley has made his name in the NBA by trolling players. So turnabout is fair play, I suppose.
Beverley said the guy said, bleep my mother, and he was cussing and attacking his mother. The guy, who is a local celebrity in Dallas, acknowledges talking about his mom, but denies using the F word. So what we have here is a guy...
Local celebrity.
Yeah, he's like a famous... He's like a weird... You know how like we have the guy at the Lakers game, the Clippers game?
Oh, Goldstein.
Yeah. This guy.
You can even tell they talked about him on the broadcast, so they obviously know him.
That fan looks like the owner of Virgin Airlines. What's his name? Richard Branson?
So my question is this, right? The guy was talking about Patrick Beverley's mother. Whether he cussed or not, he's still talking about Patrick Beverley's mother. Did Patrick Beverley have the right to throw the ball at him and check him a little bit?
Probably not, but I'm glad he did, too.
Let me say this. When it comes to situations like that, so many of these players are expected to conduct themselves with a higher level or higher understanding of decorum because of the visibility that they have and how they represent the NBA. But in turn, it's incumbent upon the NBA to make sure that they have these players' backs and that they place restrictions on exactly what these fans can say. It's one thing to say you suck or you can't shoot or you can't play or this or that. But when they start getting personal, and when I say personal, I'm not just talking about your mother, but when they start looking up and researching real factoids about your family, these are things that can lead to altercations, and the NBA does not want that. So since Adam Silver is so pro-player, he might want to start looking into this. Because we're in a time period right now where you have a lot of quote-unquote woke athletes. And one day, the wrong Caucasian fan is going to say the wrong thing to the wrong woke Negro. And it's going to be fireworks. So Adam Silver better get out ahead of this one.
I mean, he probably doesn't have the right to do it, but I'm glad he did it.
The right thing to do would be to just get security, point at the guy, and get him thrown.
So, I don't think security...
That happened. Patrick Beverley went to security.
Oh, really?
This guy's running his mouth.
That's exactly my point. When players start going to security and security does nothing, eventually one of these players is going to take things into their own hands.
Somebody better shut him up before I shut it for him, and nothing happened because of he can talk. It's a game. He's not crossing the line.
Yeah.
But Patrick Beverley felt he was crossing the line.
You know, Patrick Beverley later on in this game, or maybe it was even earlier in this game, got all up in Dennis Smith Jr.'s grill, knocked his tooth out, so maybe he was a little bit upset. Look at Sam Cassell. He's shocked. But look, this is probably something you probably shouldn't do, but you talk about my mama, man.
Yeah.
My mama, dog. You know what I'm saying?
And that's my point. When you have hypersensitive Negroes in the NBA, and like I've stated, it's one thing for somebody to say, hey, your mother does this or your father does that, blah, blah, blah. But some of these fans, they go to the next level. Like, they start really researching things about these players' families. And God forbid you have a player whose sister or mother has cancer or some other disease, and the fan starts going on and on about that. You never know what can happen. Never know.
Do the Dallas Mavericks have a heckling problem at their games? I mean, this is now the second incident in 2 weeks where they're getting the players. Is it a problem or is it a good thing?
What's going on down there in Dallas?
They're talking a lot in Dallas.
Good. It's a good thing. It helps the team.
I mean, the team is playing well.
They're distracting the players. The star players on the other teams are being bothered by the fans, so it's a positive.
Yeah, I'm telling you, listen.
It's a positive for now, until there's a serious confrontation.
Listen, here's the deal. I'm just telling you, man. Do this at your own risk.
I agree, sir.
Yeah, because at some point,
Hey, what is this guy?
one of these guys...
They snappy. I remember the one dude, I'll never forget this guy's name, me and Babcock watched this not too long ago, that ran up on Jermaine O'Neal.
I remember that dude, that heavyset dude that ran out onto the court, and Jermaine O'Neal hit him with the mollywop from hell. Jermaine O'Neal hit him with the mollywop and did a split.
Doing a mouth was at the Palace, I was thinking what that guy was thinking. Like, be careful.
Wrong dude to run up on.
Yeah, be careful messing with these guys, man. These guys, it's a long season. You get
Going to get knocked out.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll see what happens in regards to what the NBA decides to establish as a protocol for player-fan relations. So peace.